Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 25th October 2025. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and the Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your examination. In the initial two articles, we have included two mains practice questions which will be useful for your upcoming mains examination. So in our first topic, we will look into various dimensions of research and development architecture in India, focusing on innovation, institutional support, as well as some emerging challenges. After that, in our second topic, we will look into various aspects of soybean cultivation in India, including the production trends, challenges faced by the farmers, as well as the measures to improve the yield and sustainability. After that, in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we'll try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be crucial for your upcoming prelims and mains examinations. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So let's start with the first topic, that is, please mind the gap. And the context of this topic is that in today's Indian Express newspaper, there is an editorial which is mainly focusing on the recent report that Indian government is thinking to come with a dedicated scheme to attract the Indian origin faculty in STEM fields, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And it is because of the recent changes in H-1B visa rules by the US administration that these people are thinking to shift to certain other countries. Now, India is not the only country that is coming with such kind of schemes. There are certain other countries which are coming with such kind of schemes to attract the young talented pool. So until and unless India will offer some kind of competitive advantages to these people might prefer certain other destinations. And why India actually wants to attract this young talented pool? Because with this move, we will be able to strengthen the research ecosystem in India. But there are certain other factors that these people will be considering while shifting to India or any other destinations. For example, what is the quality of life? What is standard of living? Whether the educational and health facilities are available or not? What is the quality of air? So we need some other reforms to actually materialize this move in a better manner. Along with that, while going for this particular move, it might face certain other implementational challenges. For example, the cultural adjustment that these people will have to do with regard to the US environment and Indian environment, the infrastructure gaps that are there in India, or the resentment that these Indian origin faculties might face as compared to the Indian faculties. So these issues needs to be addressed to get the proper results of this particular scheme that Indian government is thinking to launch. And this particular topic is related to your GS paper 3, achievements of Indians in science and technology, as well as indigenization of technology. Now we'll try to understand the overall research and development ecosystem in India. If we see that what is the spending that India is doing on the research and development, it is around the 0.65% of the GDP of India that India is spending on the research and development, which is much less as compared to the China, which is spending around 2.7% of GDP, or US, which is spending more than 3% of its GDP on research and development. And if you look into the gross expenditure on research and development on the per capita basis in dollar terms, in India, it is just $43.41 as compared to United States, where it is $1,777.93. In China, it is $325.82. In Germany, it is $1,701. Russia, which is spending around $284.8 per capita. Now the issue is that if you look into the spending that India is doing on the research and development, majorly it is being done on health, defense and agriculture, forestry and fishing. When we say that India does not have a competitive advantage in the manufacturing sector or in the industries, it is because, or one of the factor for that is the low spending that we are doing on the research and development. China, which we say has a competitive advantage with regard to the prices of product, that is because they have hugely spended on the research and development, which has helped them to bring down the cost of that particular product, and that is giving them a competitive advantage in the global market. Or when we talk about the United States, the companies like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, they are spending significant amount on the research and development, and they are coming with the better products, and that is helping them in getting a strategic advantage. For example, India bought Apache helicopter from United States. Now in future also, India will be dependent on the components of Apache that India might need in future on United States itself. So that is giving a strategic advantage to the United States. if you look into the major challenges which are being faced by the research and development ecosystem, the most important is the low research and development expenditure. We have already seen that India is spending around 0.6% of the total GDP. But the major issue is that the majority of this spending or the expenditure is coming from the government or the public sector itself, which is around 56.1%. Whereas the businesses or the corporations or the privates are spending only around 36.8% out of total expenditure, and higher educational institutions are spending just 7.1% out of total spending. Now let's compare this data with the United States, where the government's contribution on total spending is only around 10.3%, whereas the businesses or the private corporations are spending around 72.6%. That shows that majority of the spending is coming from the private sector itself, and the higher educational facilities are spending around 12.9% of the total spending. In India, that it is neither the higher educational institutions nor the corporations are taking the burden of spending on research and development. Also, the weak academy industrial linkages. For example, what is being demanded by the industry? It is Internet of Things, it is machine learning, it is artificial intelligence, big data analytics. But these skills or these courses are not being offered by the institutions, and once the people who are graduating from these courses do not have that kind of skills, that kind of knowledge, they will not be employable by the industries, or the industries will be preferring certain other individuals from, let's suppose, foreign countries who might have better skills as compared to Indian peers. And that is again being reflected from the India Skills Report of 2025 that says that 55% of the youth is unemployable because of the lack of proper skill sets that they have. And then we have the educational bottlenecks and the skill gaps, that Indian educational system is majorly focusing on the rote learning, that learn these concepts, learn these theorems, learn these definitions, and just write that in the examination, and you will get the graduation certificate, or you will qualify this examination. The presence of mind or the innovation of the persons are not getting checked in the examinations or in the institutions, and that is because the weak research culture. Research as one of the fields is not very popular in the population, in the youth, because the socio-cultural biases that are there, that people prefer a secured career, that they want to have engineering as one of the career, or they want to become doctor, where they will have a stable career options, as compared to the research, where there might be some inconsistencies that might come in future, where the risk is higher as compared to certain other career options where they have more surety. For example, in civil services itself, there are around 1000 vacancies every year, but lakhs of people are preparing for this examination, giving this examination, because whenever the risk is higher, the reward is also higher. Similarly, in the research and development field also, when people say that the risk is higher, but again reward can be also very high if the research that they were doing they will be able to convert that into some kind of commercially viable product that can help them in attracting a better value or getting a better value if they will be developing such kind of research. Also, the lack of diversification, that majorly the spending that is being done by some of the institutions or some of the sectors itself. For example, the share of research and development expenditure by major scientific agencies, that majority of that spending is being done by the DRDO itself, that is 31.60%, and 19% by Department of Space itself. And when we say that Tejas Mk1, that is one of the 4.5 generation aircraft that India is developing. Now it is being developed by HAL with certain other agencies, but again India is developed on GE Aerospace, which is supplying the engine for this particular product. Now that shows the huge dependency that India has on the foreign players. Plus again it will give a strategic advantage to these countries in future. Or let's suppose India started the Kaveri engine development with the DRDO, and that project started in 1980s itself, but still we could not develop that thrust that is required to fuel the aircrafts. And as of now, that Kaveri engine got the node for being used in the Ghatak drones. So that shows that even you working on that particular project for more than 40 years, we could not develop that Kaveri engine, and we are still dependent on the GE Aerospace, which is US company, for the aircrafts, the indigenous aircraft that we are developing. So despite a huge amount that is being spent by these institutions, premier institutions, that is not helping in commercial viable project or the commercial viable products, and that is one of the major issue. Also, another data that shows the abysmal condition of the research and development in India is the number of patents that are filed. That shows the extent of innovation in a country, because it is measured through the number of patents that it gets every year, because that gives rights to the people over that research or the innovation. And this is the data of 2021-22 that shows that there were 66,440 patents that were filed, out of which 30,074 patents were granted. Another reason that why India is lagging behind in the research and development spending is, as per this Niti Aayog Innovation Index 2021 report, it says that India also has certain other responsibilities. For example, the responsibility of disease control, addressing malnutrition, poverty, or the issues of the hunger, etc. that also needs to be addressed. For example, as per Multidimensional Poverty Index 2024 by Niti Aayog, the head count ratio of multidimensional poverty is 11.28%. There were 24 crore people who were brought outside the poverty from 2013-14 to 2022-23. Or as per the Global Hunger Index, India's rank in 2025 report was 105 out of 127 countries. That means India also has the responsibility of addressing all these issues of poverty, unemployment, and the hunger. So India will have to spend amount on that also. For example, more than 50-60,000 crore is being spent on Manrega. Similar spending is happening on National Food Security Act 2013 that covers more than 60% of the population under the priority households and Antyodaya Yojana beneficiaries. Or the government is going with the Jal Jeevan mission. There again 60-70,000 crore is being spent. So when government has a huge responsibility of addressing certain other issues, they do not have proper funds to spend on the research and development. That is again one of the major issue why India is lagging behind. But in the Union Budget 2025, there were 20,000 that was allocated to Ministry of Science and Technology only for the research and development itself. Now we'll see what are the major initiatives that were taken to improve the research and development ecosystem. First is the Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which is a statutory body, came with the ANRF Act of 2023. That is mainly focusing on boosting the India's research and development through the funding and collaboration among the institutions, academia, industry and the research bodies to address the misalignment or the issue of an industry-academia linkage that is being witnessed. Because now the research will be on those areas which is being demanded by the industry itself, and academia or the institutions will also provide the curriculum, or they will also update their curriculum according to the demand of the industry itself. Then National AI Mission, that is Advanced AI Research and Application in Healthcare, Agriculture, Education and Governance. That the focus is on niche technologies which can give better value in the foreign markets if some of the commercial viable products will be developed. Then we have the Science and Engineering Research Board that will support the investigator-led basic and applied research and development of advanced technologies. And then we have the Atal Innovation Mission that will promote the innovation and entrepreneurship via Atal Tinkering Labs as well as Atal Incubation Centers. Then we have the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council that will support the biotech innovation with funding and industry academia collaborations. National Mission on Quantum Technologies and Applications. Now here we will be developing the quantum computing that can actually help us in reducing the processing times, as well as the cryptography and the position India's as a global leader in the quantum technologies. But there are certain reforms that needs to be taken, that needs to be done by the government, by the civil society organizations, by the institutions to address the underlying issues which are still plaguing the research and development ecosystem. For example, we need to scale up the research and development investment, and the government can provide certain tax incentive to the companies. Also, the innovation linked grants can be given to the private institutions. Plus, let's suppose the CSR funding that the institutions, private companies do, that is provided under section 135 of Companies Act 2013, under which the 2% of the net profit needs to be spent on the CSR. So the CSR funds can be diverted towards the research and development, or the leverage, we can leverage the Anusandhan National Research Foundation for funding and the diversification, that we can diversify into certain sectors which can give us better value. For example, Russia was one of the first country which came with the COVID-19 vaccine. Similarly, they are also developing vaccine to treat the cancer or certain diseases which are incurable. If India will develop or India will innovate on those kind of products which are not available in the global markets, obviously we will have a strategic advantage, and that product can give us a better value in the foreign markets. For example, the recently M21 vaccine that was developed by the Serum Institute, manufactured by the Serum Institute for malaria. Similarly, there are certain other diseases which are incurable. There is no proper mechanism to cure that disease. So such kind of drugs or vaccines can be developed, and that can actually help us in getting better value of our product. Or we need to strengthen the industry academia collaborations, and this is because that until and unless the people who are graduating, the institutions, the people who are part of the higher education institutions, they are not getting the education or the skill sets that is demanded by the industry, they will not be employable, they will not get better income in future, and as well as the career will not be secure for them. Also, we can utilize the CSR for research and development that we have talked. We can also transform education and talent pipeline that has been again highlighted by the National Education Policy 2020, that there is need for proper research and development from early stage itself. The institution should come forward, they should participate on the research and development, and that should not be the bogus research and development. The research should also be there should not be any copy pasting that should be done, piracy should not happen. Plus, the focus should be on the better research on some of the sectors where the country or the world is still looking up to some of the solutions. Also, we can promote the innovation and the risk taking. For example, we can simplify the process with the help of which the patent can be granted, the bureaucratic red tapeism, etc. can be addressed. And recently also, the Anusandhan National Research Foundation came with this partnerships for accelerated innovation and research program. The objective was to transform research and innovation in Indian universities by providing proper hand-holding and capacity building. Also, fostering research excellence in universities with alignment with the National Education Policy. Also, top 25 NIRF ranked institutions. So that is also bringing a competition among the institution itself, or the institutions of national importance within top 50 of NIRF ranking. So these are the hub institutions who are eligible to be part of this program. Also, the central and state public universities and selected NITs and triple IITs will be the spoke institutions. Majorly, it will be the top institutions who will be getting benefits under this particular program. There were certain other committees like Yashpal Committee or Satyanarayan Committee who recommended for better research and development ecosystem with better contribution and participation of private sector. This is a mains practice question that you people can write from this particular topic. Next topic is trouble in Soy State. This is with regard to the problems which are being faced by the soybean farmers, especially in the state of Madhya Pradesh, which is India's top producer of soybean. Around 41% of the total production is coming from the Madhya Pradesh itself. And the issues are with regard to the poor MSP implementation, high input cost, low grade of seed quality that is available, as well as the looming threat of US imports. And these issues we will be discussing in detail. And this topic is related to your GS paper 3, major crops and cropping pattern, as well as agricultural pricing. Let's first focus on the basics of soybean. So, soybean, which is a kharif crop, requires around 600 to 650 mm of rainfall, as well as it requires 26 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius of temperature. But it requires soil which is fertile, well drained, as well as the loamy soil is required by the soybean. It has various health benefits. For example, it is high in protein. Around 100 gram of soya chunks can give more than 30 gram of protein. It is low in saturated fats, that is helping in bringing down the cases of cardiovascular diseases. Also, it is high in phytoestrogen. So, phytoestrogen are estrogen-like products which are derived from plant itself. And estrogen is a hormone that helps in proper reproductive systems being developed in the woman. Then it is also cholesterol free, and it is also source of omega-3 fatty acids, which are polyunsaturated fatty acids and are required for proper development of brain and body. And it is also one of the great source for antioxidants, which helps in addressing the issue of free radicals in body, and that also helps in diminishing the risk of cancers as well as the certain other heart diseases and diabetes that person might have in future. Now, this particular crop is native to East Asia and China, and it grows in tropical and subtropical and temperate regions, and it grows well in warm and moist conditions which are provided majorly in the Kharif season. If you look into the data of the soybean production in 2023-24 as per the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Madhya Pradesh has produced around 5.47 million tons, and then we have the Maharashtra and Rajasthan. 41.92% is the contribution out of total production is coming from the Madhya Pradesh itself. If you talk about the world soybean production, the top producer is Brazil, then we have the United States, Argentina, China, and at the 5th position India is with regard to the global soybean production, and this data is from FAS and USDA. The other issues which are being faced by the farmers of the soybean majorly in the state of Madhya Pradesh is the yields which are following, which were earlier around 4 quintals per acre, but now it has come down to around 2 to 2.5 quintals per acre. And it is because of the combination of factors. For example, the low quality seeds that are available which has the low germination, plus the pest attacks that are increasing, be it from the griddle battle or the stem fly, or the increased case of erratic rainfall that is there. So that all are impacting the yields. For example, the JS2303 is one of the variety which is high yielding variety seeds of soybean that is also resistant to the droughts, etc. But there is poor linkage between the ICAR and the market, and when the people will not be able to afford or get access to these kind of good quality seeds, obviously they will be going with the traditional variety of seeds, and there the yields will be less, plus the chances of losses will be much higher because of the pest attack, etc. that might happen. Also, the low prices and the high cost. MSP of the soybean is around 5,328 rupees per quintal, but the market only gives them around 3,000 to 3,500 rupees, especially in the region of Madhya Pradesh, because of the cartelization which are being done by the traders in the mandi itself. And that is the reason these people are not able to even get the input cost that they have spent. When we talk about the MSP or the minimum support price, it is the minimum price for any crops that the government considered remunerative for farmers and hence deserve of the support. It is also the price that government agencies pays whenever they procure the particular crop from the farmers. And why government is doing this procurement? Obviously to make the farming remunerative, plus more than that the food security needs to distribute grains under the National Food Security Act, etc. government is procuring. And how exactly government is coming with the MSP? It is based on the formula, that is the A2, that covers all cash and in-kind expenses that are incurred by the farmers on seed, fertilizer, chemical, hired laborer, fuel, irrigation, etc. Plus the A2 plus FL cost, that is the actual cost plus the imputed value of unpaid family labor. What does it mean by imputed value? It means the estimated value, that a lot of people are dependent on the agriculture. They are giving their time on the farms itself, but we do not have a clear value that what is the amount of time that the family is giving on that farm itself, and that is the reason it is an imputed value or estimated value of the family labor which is unpaid. And then we have the C2 cost that covers A2 plus FL along with the revenues that are foregone on owned land, that is the rent that they will be getting or they may get, and the fixed capital assets, the interest on that. As of now, it is 1.5 times of A2 plus FL cost that is being recommended by the CACP, but they also say that they take C2 cost as a reference, but majorly it is 1.5 times of A2 plus FL cost. There are certain Kharif crop, Rabi crops, and there are some calendar year crops. For example, this soybean is a Kharif crop. There are a lot of questions which has been already asked by the UPSC, and how exactly we can remember these crops that we can do with the help of this story. There is an UPSC aspirant like you people who is living in old Rajinder Nagar, and in morning itself he had the poha as well as the sprouts, and that poha was made from paddy, groundnut, as well as the shopkeeper is very conscious of the health of aspirants, and that is the reason that was prepared in sunflower oil. Along with that, there were in the sprouts we had masoor, moong and gram, with the help of which we can remember these 6 crops. In afternoon, that person had a full thali, full meal, in which there was the multigrain bread or roti, in which we can cover wheat, jowar, bajra, maize, ragi and barley. Along with that, the vegetable was of toria and soya bean, and it was made in safflower oil, which is again one of the oil seeds. And that dal was mixed dal or the pulses, under which we can cover tur, masoor, urad and moong. In evening, the aspirant started watching some Instagram reels or YouTube shorts where he saw the Shraddha Kapoor, who was wearing one of the cotton dress, with which we can remember cotton as one of the textile crop, and she was having this jute bag. And on this jute bag, we can see the pictures of vada pav and the tea. And that is the reason the aspirant also thought to have vada pav, which was prepared in mustard oil, again one of the oil seeds, and chai, which was made with the help of sugarcane, for which the FRP is given. In evening, the aspirant thought that I had already eaten a lot of junk food or a lot of foods from outside markets. Let's try to prepare something on my own. And then he prepared the chila with sesame and Niger seeds, and copra was used to make the coconut chutney. And why was the aspirant doing this? Because in the DAF, in the hobbies section, he has already written that cooking is one of the hobby of this aspirant, and that is the reason he was pursuing this hobby. With the help of this story, we can remember the crops that are covered in MSP, and we can answer the questions whether that was asked in 2018 or in 2023 with regard to the crops that are covered in MSP. Please answer this question in the comment box. Similarly, this particular question that was asked in 2020, you can answer this question also by using the basic logic itself. And I am expecting that all of you will answer all these three questions in the comment box. Then we were discussing the issues that are associated with the soya bean. So we saw the yields that are falling as well as the MSP, because the thing is that the government do not have that resources or the agencies that with the help of which they can procure all the soybeans, and that is the reasons farmers are selling that in the mandis also, but they are not getting proper prices. Then the climate and the pressure. For example, the erratic rainfalls that is leading to yield losses. For example, the Marathwada is one of the regions which had the droughts historically, but in last few months that Marathwada region is battling with floods. Maharashtra minister said that over 1 crop acres of cropland has been affected due to rains in Maharashtra region itself. So that shows that with erratic rainfall, the losses of the farmers are increasing, and the attacks of Nilgai, that is again destroying the crops, or the pest attacks, be it the stem fly or the giddle battle that is impacting, or the diseases of soybean, be it the frog eye leaf spot, charcoal rot, or the sudden death syndrome and soybean rust, that is again impacting the yields of the crop and leading to the crop losses. The poor seed quality, the low germination private seeds, the thing that we have discussed, the JS variety of ICR seeds, when they are not available in the markets, or let's suppose there is this BRS246 variety of Brazil, which is a high yield variety and much resistant to the frog leaf disease, but these kind of seeds are not available to the farmers, and that is leading to crop losses. Plus, when we see that the prices of the soya bean, you can see from 2022 it is constantly falling, and when the input cost of farmers is increasing with the more climate change related issues that are coming, or the farm mechanization which is much less in India, which is around 40% itself. So when prices are decreasing, input cost has remained more or less same or it has increased, the losses of farmers are increasing. Also the import threat that we were discussing, for example, India and US are trying to finalize a trade deal, and US wants to access the Indian market with regard to the export of its agricultural product, and one of the product that they want to export to Indian market is the soya bean. But US soya bean is available at around $380 per ton as compared to India, which is available at $620 per ton. Now, if these products, these cheap products from US markets will flood Indian markets, the Indian farmers their income might jeopardize, their livelihood might jeopardize in future. And that is the reason there has been consistent delay in signing the trade deal. Then there are policy gaps. For example, Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana, which was one of the scheme that was being implemented in Madhya Pradesh. Now, what was happening here? Let's suppose 5,000 is the MSP and the market price is 3,000 rupees. So the difference between these two, 2,000 will be given to the farmers. But again, there has been a lot of confusion. There has been a lot of corruptions involved in this particular process itself. There has been deliberate attempts to keep the prices at a regular level, and farmers in that case could not benefit from that Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. It is not transparent that on what basis prices are being derived in the market, and there has been the difference between the model prices versus the actual prices which are being given to the farmers, and that was impacting their profitability. Then we have the way forward, that how exactly we can address these issues. First of all, we need to invest more in the seed and research, and we can strengthen the ICR and state research and development. For example, the agricultural societies, they can be equipped with the good quality seeds which can be then sold to the farmers at an affordable prices, to ensure that farmers are not dependent on the traditional varieties, and that can make them that can actually help us in improving the yields of the soya bean. Also, the price and market supply, we can have a transparent price deficiency payments and e-NAM access, for which we can leverage the technologies. For example, there can be a portal itself where everyone can register, all the traders, and there can be an online auction that can happen, with the help of which we can have a transparent pricing mechanisms, and farmers can get better value of their products. And we should also focus on climate and pest management, with focusing on drought tolerant varieties. For example, EMBRAP is one of the agency in Brazil which is developing the varieties which are more drought tolerant and that is more resistant to pest attack. So these kind of good practices or the best practices can be taken into account in India also. Also, cost and mechanization, we can encourage the shared machineries, for example, the agricultural extension services, or the integrated pest management can happen. For example, any fertilizer which is being supplied, they can be fortified or equipped with certain other components or certain other chemicals that can provide or that can make them immune from the pest attacks. Trade and value addition, that focus should be on promoting the processing, export and value added soybean products. The raw soybean does not get the better value or a proper value in the market, and that is the reason, if there will be proper infrastructure for grading and sorting or processing of that raw soya, that can get better value in the markets, as well as the profitability of farmers can also increase. Also, the farmer support and institutions, we can strengthen the cooperatives, farmer producer organization and local procurement networks, because that can help us in providing proper logistics within which the farmer can sell, or farmer can ensure that their products are reaching to the mandis or the markets at in a shorter time. Or they can also pool their resources, that can also reduce the cost of inputs, and that can make the farming, especially in the soybean sector, more remunerative. This is one of the main practice question that you people can write from this particular topic. In our simplified section, first topic is consequences of rising public debt for government and taxpayers. This is related to your GS paper 3, growth and development, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express, page number 30. So as per IMF's latest fiscal monitor report, it says that the global public debt is projected to rise above 100% of GDP by 2029. Now the thing is that we need to understand, let's suppose when we talk about the budget, which is an estimate of the revenue and the expenditure of government, under which we have the two components. We have the revenue budget and we have the capital budget. Under the revenue budget, we have the revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. Then we have the capital receipts and capital expenditure. Now the thing is that if the expenditure will be much higher than the revenues of the government or the receipts of the government, in that case government will have to take some debt to fulfill this expenditure. But time and again we have seen with the time that this expenditure is consistently rising, whereas receipts has more or less remained consistent itself. And debt, because of this rising expenditure, the debt is also consistently rising. The issue that it creates, that with increased debt, there will be also an interest that we need to pay on that debt. In future, whatever the receipts that are coming, majority of that is being spent on paying this interest itself. Another issue that it might create, that when government is borrowing, let's suppose it was only one bank that was there in the market, and that bank had only 100 rupees. And when government bought this particular money from the bank at that point of time, the private institutions or the private companies will not have funds which they can invest in the economy, and that is the case of crowding out. So when the debt of the governments are rising, it is also creating the challenges for the companies that credits might not be available. Or to address the issue of inflation, when the central bank is increasing the repo rates or the policy rates, and because of that the rates of the credit or the rate at which credit is available, that is also increasing. So that means that the loans are also becoming costlier. That is again leading to a greater cost to the governments, and that is again fueling the high debts because of the high interest payment, because of the high rates at which the loan is available, because of the changes or the increase in the policy rate or the repo rate to address the issue of inflation. And this is what is being told in the article also, that when governments borrow to cover the gap between what they spend and what they raise in revenues, it is called a deficit. And each year deficit adds to the mountain of the public debt or the gross debt of general government, both central and state governments. Typically this debt is expressed as the percentage of GDP. And IMF finds that at current rate, global public debt would reach its highest level since 1948. Also, higher debt has many adverse consequences that we have discussed, that high interest payments, higher debt to GDP ratio shows that governments are inadequately prepared to deal with the next economic shock that might happen in future. For example, let's suppose COVID-19 that came. So at that point of time, government went with the National Food Security Act 2013 expansion, or the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana that came by the government, where the free food grains were distributed. And if government did not have proper money and their debt were, let's suppose, very high, will they be able to soak that kind of economic pressure or the shock that might happen in future? With rising climate change related issues, with rising cases of pandemic, etc., if the government has a very high debt, that might create some challenges in future. Also, the quite varied that is shown in the table, overall landscape of the debt to GDP ratio. Advanced economies are most stretched. For example, in Japan, public debt is at 230% of the GDP. And public debt is going up for various reasons, for increasing demand of expenditure on defense, climate change related activities, dealing with the disruptive technologies like AI, and then need for government to bolster the social safety nets. For example, when Operation Sindoor was launched and then the skirmishes happened between India and Pakistan, India realized that there are certain gaps in our defense and capabilities that needs to be plugged, and that is the reason there has been an increased spending on the defense. Or India being a vocal member of the Solar Alliance, or the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, or the financing for addressing the climate change adaptation and mitigation measures, there is a fund or the money that is needed, and countries are taking debt for that. Or let's suppose the employment linked incentive scheme that was launched by the government to promote the formal employment, under which there are first time employer as well as employee gets money whenever they are being registered under the EPFO. So for which government is doing spending, and that is one of the reasons why the debt is rising. Also, the size of debt is just one aspect of the problem. The cost of raising debt is another, that we were discussing, that when only 100 rupees was available with the bank, obviously they might offer them at a greater rate as compared to the low rate at which it was available only. Plus to tackle the inflation, the increase in the repo rate, that is also fueling the cost of credit. Also, government pay back their old debt by raising new debt, but there has been a crucial shift in the interest rate regime over the past 5 years because of the repo rate changes that happened. And if you look into this data of public debt as percentage of GDP, in Japan it is 230%, in UK it is 103%, in US it is 125%, in emerging economies like India it is 81%, and in China it is 96%. And now if you see, there was a question in prelims also, that is whether the India's debt is denominated in rupee terms or dollar terms or in other foreign currency. So this report says that over 93% of debt is covered by India's foreign exchange reserves, and the debt composition is 53.8% is in US dollar, 30.6 in rupee, and similarly there are in other currencies. Long-term debt has increased to 611.7 billion from March 25 in October 25 5, and this is in dollar terms. When we talk about the debt type, largest portion is the loans that are taken, that is 34.8%, following by the deposit, trade credits and banks. And again, if you look into this data, that is from the PRS legislative research, that shows the fiscal condition of the Indian states, that is debt to GDP ratio of Indian state in 2024-25. There are states like Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, where the debt to GDP ratio is much higher, and it can be because of the various reasons. For example, if there are some populist measures which are being taken by the state governments, for example, some of the states has already went with the old pension scheme, that is again leading to a significant expenditure to the government. Or if farm loan waivers are being done, that is again leading to a high debt to the states. Next topic is Gyan Bharatam mission to ink pact with the institute, and this is related to your GS paper 1 art and culture, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 12. So this Gyan Bharatam mission, which is a significant initiative of Ministry of Culture, signed MOUs with around 20 institutions across the country to conserve, upkeep and digitize manuscripts, and 30 more institutes will be signing this particular MOU in future. Also, it is a flagship initiative which was launched in budget 25-26 for identifying, documenting, conserving and digitizing, preserving and promoting India's vast manuscript heritage. And what exactly is a manuscript? It is a handwritten document that is created on the materials like paper, bark, cloth, metal or palm leaves, and they are at least 75 years old. They have the scientific, historic or the artistic significance. For example, they can focus on curing any one particular disease, or they can focus on any particular artistic form like dance, music, etc. And that is the reason it is very important to preserve, identify and conserve that manuscript. Unlike historical records, the manuscript contain the knowledge-based content rather than the direct historical records. They do not focus on the events, rather they focus on one particular topic itself. And this mission, which was launched in budget, the highlights of mission were there that there will be a national digital archive that will be created, and it will be a centralized digital repository for India's knowledge system, and the implementing agency will be the National Mission for Manuscript to oversee the preservation efforts, and the parent institution, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, that will support and guide the initiative. There has been increase in the budget allocation, funding raised from 3.5 crore rupees to 60 crore for enhanced conservation and global accessibility, that ensuring the manuscripts are preserved, digitized and made available worldwide so that they can be accessed by the foreign people also. And this will be providing this Gyan Bharatam shall be providing the overarching framework, guidance and monitoring and support for the execution of activities under the partnerships. They will be supporting these institutions, and the various activities to be provided by the Gyan Bharatam, that has been categorized into survey, cataloging, conservation, capacity building, technology and digitization. The linguistic translation, research, publication and outreach are certain other activities which will get support from the Gyan Bharatam. And these centers will also have been asked to constitute a dedicated Gyan Bharatam cell that is experienced in rich vertical in spirit of voluntary service to represent the center with sincerity, while also serving as a vital channel of communication to foster collaboration and ensure smooth coordination. When we talk about the funding, the first installment shall be disbursed upon the annual budget. Second 30% will be coming only upon submission of progress report, detailed financial report, submission of utilization certificates and other important documents. Next topic is Makhananomics, that is the politics behind the government bids to boost the Bihar's Makhana industry, and this is related to your GS paper 3, major crops and cropping pattern, and this has appeared in today's The Indian Express, page number 13. So Bihar is contributing around 90% of India's Makhana foxnut production, and that is also called as superfood because of the nutritional value that these Makhanas has. And it is the dried edible seed of prickly water lily or gorgon plant, and a species that grows in freshwater ponds across South and East Asia. I will show you the picture. This is the lily from which these seeds are taken out, and then once they are roasted and then they are broken, you get this kind of white makhana after taking out this outer shell. And 90% of makhana is coming from the Bihar itself. But the processing or the value addition is very less in Makhana, and the exports are happening from the states like Punjab where production is not happening. And that is the reason there was a Makhana board which was established, which was announced in the budget itself, that will provide proper support, capacity building, hand holding to improve the production, processing and value addition, as well as the marketing of Makhana, so that the local farmers can get better value of their products, whether from the domestic market or from the global market. Also, we need to understand this Makhana is majorly coming from some of the 9 districts of northern and eastern Bihar. For example, Darbhanga, Madhubani, Purnia, Katihar, Saharsa, Supaul, Araria, Kishanganj and Sitamarhi. And these are also called as the Mithilanchal region. And the first 4 districts mentioned contribute around 80% of the Bihar Makhana production. And it is grown in almost 15,000 hectares in Bihar, which produces around 10,000 ton of popped Makhana. And it has been consumed often in ritual setting. Of late, it has gained popularity as superfood due to its nutritional benefits. For example, it is being used in weight management because of being less in cholesterol and fat. It is gluten free. That means that it is easy to digest. Also, it is used in controlling blood pressure because it is less in cholesterol and fat. Also, it is good for fertility because it improves the semen quality. Also, it is used in diabetes management because of the low calorific value that it has. Also, it is helping improved kidney functioning because it acts as a detoxifying agent and helps in maintaining the kidney health. Now, again, we need to understand that the farming and harvesting of Makhana is almost entirely done by one of the community, that is Malla community. But what is happening? That Bihar has not been able to harness the Makhana's growing market. The largest Makhana exporters in India are Punjab and Assam, because Bihar does not have that infrastructure that they can utilize for grading and sorting, and they can brand that product or market that product, or they can sell in the global market. So that is the reason raw Makhana is coming in the Punjab and Assam, from where that is being exported. Also, Bihar neither has a developed food processing industry nor has the required export infrastructure, and that is the reason they are not able to get better value of their product. Also, Bihar end up selling all the fox nuts as raw material to food processing units outside the state at the cheap prices, and that is the reason the farmers who are dependent on Makhana are not getting a proper value on their products. Also, they are getting much lower prices as compared to the exporting units, what they are getting after the processing. And low productivity is another major problem. Currently, the cultivating Makhana is an extremely labor heavy process, because most of the things are being done manually itself, and that reduces the productivity. Seeds are sown in standing water bodies. Harvesting is done manually by diving to the bottom of the water body, and that is again a risky task, and all of this is manual. That leads to certain complications, as well as the yield is also less because of the manual labor that is employed. And if mechanization will happen, productivity also might increase. Plus, sources in the Bihar government said that state needs a robust food processing industry, and that can actually help this 90% of production that is happening to get a better value from the foreign markets. Also, this Makhana board, that is not an statutory body, unlike the tea board and the coffee board, which are the statutory bodies, and UPSC has already asked question on the tea board. This is created by an executive resolution, and it has been created with an initial budget of 100 crore, and it will provide the right ecosystem for food processing units through the Makhana board that has been established. It will also provide that knowledge with the help of which they will be able to brand and market their products at a better level. Next topic is signing up for PM SHRI was a tactical move. This was said by the Kerala minister. This is again related to your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 1. So, the Minister for General Education described Kerala's decision to sign up for PM SHRI, that is School for Rising India scheme, as a tactical move to overcome the denial of education funds to state by the centre. And it is because that the funds under the Samagra Shiksha scheme is directly linked to the implementation of the PM SHRI scheme. And that is the reason the Minister of Kerala said that they lost around 188.58 crore in 23-24 financial year and 513.5 crore in 24-25. And it was due 4.56.01 crore this financial year, and that totaled around 1158.13 crore. Now, what exactly is this PM school, SHRI school? That is the PM schools for rising India, nurturing that will help in nurturing well-rounded individuals that are equipped with 21st century skill. Under this PM SHRI school, it will develop more than 14,500 schools across the country. They will be upgraded and developed, and they will be developed on what parameters? That a pakka building of its own will be provided, potable drinking water facility, separate hand washing facility, continuous power supply, student enrollment must be more than the state average, equipped with fire safety measures, at least one separate toilet for boys and girls. This will be the infrastructure that will be developed, and they will be acting as exemplary school or model school for the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020. That other schools will take mentorship from this school, other school will take this particular school as an example, and based on that they will be also implementing the National Education Policy, be it improvement in the pedagogy or be it for the improvement of the infrastructure. So they will act as exemplary school and also offer mentorship to other school in their vicinity. They will showcase all the components of National Education Policy 2020, and the pedagogy that will be adopted in these schools will be more experiential, holistic, integrated, and that will be made play toy based, not only on the bookish knowledge, and it will benefit lakhs of students across the country. If you look into this recent data from the PM SHRI portal, as of now, there are 670 districts that are covered, and 8,306 blocks that are covered, and 13,070 PM SHRI school which has been developed, out of which 1,311 are the primary schools, 3,152 upper primary schools, 3,214 secondary schools, as per this data of the PM SHRI portal. Next topic is NHAI will be deploying the NSV, that is the network survey vehicle, on 20,000 km of highways. This is related to your GS paper 3 infrastructure, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express, page number 15. So NHAI will deploy national survey vehicles in 23 states that will be covering around 20,933 km of national highways. And why it is happening? It is because of the criticism that NHAI is facing regarding the poor condition of national highways, rising cases of accidents, and that also leads to the fatalities of the people. So with these guidelines, it mandates the authority engineer and independent engineer conduct survey with network survey vehicles before issuing the complete certificate for newly built highway stretches. So this will be a vehicle, this kind of vehicle will be used, which will be surveying the quality of road itself, and then there will be a certificate that will be issued, that whether there are some bumps, whether quality of the road is even across the whole stretch or not, all that will be surveyed by this vehicle itself. And now with this new assignment, NHAI aims to collect all necessary data by conducting various surveys, accessing available data from concerned agency, processing and analyzing the same, and uploading it on road asset management system in the prescribed format. And the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has developed this RAMS, that is road asset management system, to create a single road database for planning, budgeting, managing, and the maintaining of the entire national highways in India. And this NSV, that is the network survey vehicle, will be a specialized van or SUV that we were talking, that will be equipped with multiple sensors and instruments such as laser, global positioning system, video image processing tools, high resolution camera, inertial measurement units to get an idea about the jerks that van is facing, and the distance measuring indicators. And this data will be collected, and then that will be analyzed, and that will be uploaded on that road asset management system. And this will also give an idea about the defects that are there on roads, as well as the issues that needs to be rectified. And if you talk about the state-wise road network length in India, that is there in lakh kilometer, Maharashtra is one of the leading state with regard to the road network, and then we have the Uttar Pradesh, and after that there are other states. And this is the data from the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways that shows that the biggest gainers in India's national highway expansion drive, it is the Maharashtra, and then we have the Andhra Pradesh, who are the biggest gainers in India's national highway expansion drive with the help of the Bharatmala Pariyojana as well as the state initiatives. This is all from today's Analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.